if I stand at the front and I just talk instead of behind the thing. Thank you everyone for coming. It's always really weird to hear my bio read out loud because I think, oh my God, that person sounds really important. That's fantastic. And then I'm like, that's me. I did all those things. So the first thing I want to ask the audience, like, who here was raised by parents? Or caregivers, right? I kind of figured, I'm glad no one said they were raised by wolves because I'd have no idea where to go with that after this. But I figured that was a fairer question to ask rather than who has children, because not everyone wants to have children, nor does everyone have them. So even though I've always wanted them. But if we've been raised by parents, at some point, we've probably had the talk, okay? Oh, and I had to actually tone this down a bit. So I don't know how this is gonna turn out because I realized when I went to the bathroom, there were children in the washroom and there's children in the bookstore. So even though I write erotica, I have to figure out what I'm gonna say. But I know as a mom, what I wanted to do, I wanted to be, because I always wanted to have kids. So I wanted to be one of those progressive parents that was going to talk about everything and anything with their children, okay? Part of that was because I have a degree in physical education. And contrary to popular opinion, that does not involve learning how to play sports. I had to learn anatomy, physiology, exercise physiology, biology, all of that. And I wanted my kid, I was fascinated, I wanted my kids to learn about their bodies and how they worked. So let's fast forward a few years to when I actually had some children of my own. I believe Alyssa here, the one playing guitar, I think you were about 6 when this happened. And so I think then Natasha was probably growing here, and my 4th was, you know, kind of a whisper in the universe. And I had another son who was a toddler. So she comes home from school and she brings home the Scholastic book order. Okay, who remembers Scholastic when you were a kid, right? I was a big book nerd when I was a child, so I loved Scholastic, okay? I would get that as a kid and I'd look at it and all my favorite authors to see if their books were on sale. Did I save enough money for my allowance to get something, or maybe I could coerce my parents into buying me some stuff. So when she brought one home, nostalgia hit, and I had to refrain from wrestling this out of her hands, to teach her about sharing. So we sat together and we looked through the book order, and I saw this book called The Human Body, and it was not very long, and it said it was in glossy color, it had photos and everything. So I was really excited because I thought this is a great addition to my kids' bedroom library. So she ordered her book, which was Clifford the Big Red Dog. There's no accounting for taste when you're 6. So I ordered The Human Body, and of course you wait the few weeks and we got our book order. So that night, we get the books, we read her book first. I'm cuddled in bed, in somebody's bed with everybody. And we read her book first, and then we get to The Human Body, and it's great. Everybody, they're learning about eyeballs and muscles and digestion, and this is awesome. And I get to the last 2 pages of the book and I freeze, because there in front of me was a beautiful narrative with glossy photos of how the dad has the sperm and the mom has the egg, and they come together, pun intended, and da-da-da, in 9 months a baby is born. Now I've paused long enough that I cannot pretend that it's not in English or that the book's over, because they know there are words on the page and there's pictures there. So I remind myself that I promised I was going to be this progressive mother, and at whatever age that they had questions, I was going to talk to them about this stuff. So I forged ahead, kind of like when sex is not going well, but you're determined to finish anyway. So I read this beautiful thing, and we get to the end, we close the book, and nobody's got any questions, and I'm like, this is fantastic, awesome. So I tuck everyone in bed, and then I hear this tiny little voice. Mom, if the dad has the sperm and the mom has the egg, how do they get it together to make a baby? And I was like, oh, so close, so close. Like being on the brink of an orgasm that dies, okay? So I had to look in my author arsenal of words because I write erotic fiction, so I have a lot of words to describe sex and all that. But I have to find some that are age appropriate, right? So I came up with something that was brilliant. And I said to my children, the mom and the dad share a special hug. That's the best that I came up with. And for years, they thought that was true until things started not to make sense because they learned about it in school. And then I had to figure out another way to traumatize them with the truth. And I did that, but we'll save that story for another time. Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming out. This was fun. I enjoyed doing these events. My daughters did a lovely performance, and these are so much fun. So, does anyone have questions? Anyone want to ask me any questions? We'll do question and answer. I can read passages, but you know.
Sure.
Yes. Nicole in the back. Nice to see you.
You too, Kelly.
Yeah.
I just wondered what made you decide to choose this genre?
This genre?
Yeah.
That is a good question. Well, when I first started writing, I wanted to write romance because way back when I was a teenager, I did like those stories, and I just wanted to write a romance novel. And actually at first, I had no intention of writing any sex scenes at all. And then when I really started getting into it, like into writing is what I mean, I was going through a divorce. And my first book that ever got published is a book called Monkeys, Sex, and Other Birthday Surprises. And it is an erotic comedy. And I just wanted something that was fun and silly and just to like say all the things that I wanted to say. And then I realized that I was actually really good at writing not only romance and a good story, but all the sexy stuff too. So then I kind of stuck with that. So they say, stick with what you know. And that's how I got into it. Any other questions? Yes.
So what I understand from your books, it's set in Winnipeg gymnastics. What inspired that part of it?
With gymnastics?
Yeah.
Well, I have been a gymnastics coach for over 30 years. So one of my series, this series has actually been republished, it's being re-edited, and I wanted to write about the things that I loved, which were romance and gymnastics, so I sort of combined them together. And that's how I came up with that series. And I love all of them. In any of my series that I write, all the books are standalones, so if you don't have to read, so you don't have to read them in order to understand them. Each book has a character that I kind of plucked out of there that was like, I have a story to tell, and so I would tell their story. And so that's how this series came about. Yes?
So for your process of writing,
Yep.
what does that look like on a daily routine? Is it sort of sporadic, or is it every day? Or?
When I first started writing, I wrote every day. Part of that was just, I was going through a really rough time in my life, and it was an escape to just dive into a world where people could be happy, and I could be happy while I was writing it. Nowadays I do a lot of different things, so my writing is, when I have writing time, it's very focused, and I'll sit in for an hour and the words just like will come out. And then it's like I get to this part where it's like, and break. And then it might be a couple of days until another scene in a book comes to me, and then it's like the same thing. I have this like laser focus where it's like, this is what I need to do right now. So my process has changed a lot. I actually find that I cannot write every day anymore because it's just not there. And it just will come when it's meant to come. So sometimes my readers have to bear with me that I don't have books that come out all the time because they come out when they're ready. It's like a baby, right? They come out when they want to. Not when she was 6 weeks early, so she really wanted to. Yeah, she was raring to go. Yes.
How do you inspire yourself to write, and has it changed over the years? Where do you seek your inspiration?
Where do I
When you
seek it every
need
day?
Motivation.
My
Fill the next step.
motivation.
How do you shake yourself up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I I love to write. So I find that if I've gone a few days without doing it, it's almost like withdrawal. So then if I haven't done it, I need to find that time. Especially if I've had a scene come to me from a book I'm writing, it will nag at me and I can hear it going, write me, write me, write me. I'm not going to be quiet until you get this out. And then it's quiet once it's out on my computer. Like I said, when I first started writing, I just wrote all the time because I wanted to just escape into a happy place. But now it's more, like I said, it's more focused. So a lot of times, like, I'll go a couple of days because I just need a break and I don't have any motivation to write, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we've got something to say. And then I have to do it. And I just find, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, as an artist also, there are times that there's a dry spell, so your inspiration can come naturally where you get insights, but
Yeah.
there are times we do seek other avenues to inspire ourselves, like
Yeah.
music, concerts, or going out somewhere, and when we get triggered or
Yeah.
we're asking
Yeah.
ourselves, how can I shake myself